Manual for Teachers, Parents, and Guardians. Part 2. Welcome to Shalom International School. Malugod naming ibinabahagi sa lahat ng Filipino ang aming online classroom. ICT and Entrepreneurship Grade 4. Copyright 2020 by Alex Valdez.
Protektado ba ang iyong mga anak? Ano-ano ang mga batas na nagbibigay protection para sa iyong mga anak? Mahalagang malaman mo ang mga ito upang hindi ka maunahan ng mga masasamang tao. Ignorance of the law excuses no one. Nararapat lamang na ang bawat tao ay mag-aral ng ating batas. Hindi katwiran ang kamangmangan sa batas. Ang ating batas ay nakasulat sa wikang English. Hindi mo pwedeng gawin katwiran na hindi ka marunong mag-English.
Bago tayo magpatuloy, magpapakilala muna ako. Ako si Alex Valdez, entrepreneur, mentor, guro, copyright owner at engineer mula sa Shalom International School, Baguio City.
Ako naman po si Android Esquela. Ako ay inatasan na tagabasa.
At ako si Crewbot 19, isang masunuri na robot. Umpisahan na natin.
Layunin, objectives ng video na ito ay ang mga sumusunod. A. Ipakita ang mga laws and regulations para sa child protection. B. Ipakita at basahin ang nilalaman ng anti-bullying law. A. Ipakita ang mga laws and regulations para sa child protection. Republic Act No. 10627 or the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013 is a law which seeks to address hostile environment at school that disrupts the education process which, in turn, is not conducive to the total development of a child at school. Republic Act No. 7610, Anti-Child Abuse Law. This act shall be known as the Special Protection of Children Against Child Abuse, Exploitation and Discrimination Act. Republic Act No. 11313, Safe Spaces Act or Bawal ang Bastos Law. The state also recognizes that both men and women must have equality, security and safety not only in private, but also on the streets, public spaces, online, workplaces, and educational and training institutions. Republic Act No. 11036. The Mental Health Law proposes a mental health policy that aims to enhance integrated mental health services, the promotion of mental health services, protection of people who use said services, and the establishment of a Philippine Mental Health Council. Republic Act No. 8049. The Anti-Hazing Act of 1995 is a national legislation in the Philippines, regulating the act of hazing and other initiation rights in fraternities and sororities in the country. It prohibits and penalizes physical harm and violence in such practices. Republic Act No. 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act, is a law that seeks to protect all forms of information, be it private, personal, or sensitive. It is meant to cover both natural and juridical persons involved in the processing of personal information. Republic Act No. 7610, Child Abuse Law, Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act.
B. Ipakita at basahin ang nilalaman ng anti-bullying law.
Republic Act No. 10627, an act requiring all elementary and secondary schools to adopt policies to prevent and address the acts of bullying in their institutions. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress assembled. Section 1. Short title. This act shall be known as the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013. Section 2. Acts of bullying. For purposes of this act, bullying shall refer to any severe or repeated use by one or more students of a written, verbal or electronic expression, or a physical act or gesture, or any combination thereof, directed at another student that has the effect of actually causing or placing the latter in reasonable fear of physical or emotional harm or damage to his property. Creating a hostile environment at school for the other student. Infringing on the rights of the other student at school, or materially and substantially disrupting the education process or the orderly operation of a school. Such as, but not limited to, the following. A. Any unwanted physical contact between the bully and the victim, like punching, pushing, shoving, kicking, slapping, tickling, headlocks, inflicting school pranks, teasing, fighting and the use of available objects as weapons. B. Any act that causes damage to a victim's psyche and/or emotional well-being. C. Any slanderous statement or accusation that causes the victim undue emotional distress, like directing foul language or profanity at the target, name-calling, tormenting and commenting negatively on victims' looks, clothes and body, and D. Cyberbullying or any bullying done through the use of technology or any electronic means. Section 3. Adoption of anti-bullying policies. All elementary and secondary schools are hereby directed to adopt policies to address the existence of bullying in their respective institutions. Such policies shall be regularly updated and, at a minimum, shall include provisions which a. Prohibit the following acts. 1. Bullying on school grounds. Property immediately adjacent to school grounds. At school-sponsored or school-related activities. Functions or programs whether on or off school grounds. At school bus stops. On school buses or other vehicles owned, leased or used by a school, or through the use of technology or an electronic device owned, leased or used by a school. 2. Bullying at a location, activity, function or program that is not school-related and through the use of technology or an electronic device that is not owned, leased or used by a school if the act or acts in question create a hostile environment at school for the victim, infringe on the rights of the victim at school, or materially and substantially disrupt the education process or the orderly operation of a school. And 3. Retaliation against a person who reports bullying, who provides information during an investigation of bullying, or who is a witness to or has reliable information about bullying. B. Identify the range of disciplinary administrative actions that may be taken against a perpetrator for bullying or retaliation which shall be commensurate with the nature and gravity of the offense. Provided that, in addition to the disciplinary sanctions imposed upon a perpetrator of bullying or retaliation, she shall also be required to undergo a rehabilitation program which shall be administered by the institution concerned. The parents of the said perpetrator shall be encouraged by the said institution to join the rehabilitation program. C. Establish clear procedures and strategies for 1. Reporting acts of bullying or retaliation. 2. Responding promptly to and investigating reports of bullying or retaliation. 3. Restoring a sense of safety for a victim and assessing the student's need for protection. 4. Protecting from bullying or retaliation of a person who reports acts of bullying. Provides information during an investigation of bullying, or is witness to or has reliable information about an act of bullying. And 5. Providing counseling or referral to appropriate services for perpetrators, victims, and appropriate family members of said students. D. Enable students to anonymously report bullying or retaliation, provided, however, that no disciplinary administrative action shall be taken against a perpetrator solely on the basis of an anonymous report. E. Subject a student who knowingly makes a false accusation of bullying to disciplinary administrative action. F. Educate students on the dynamics of bullying, the anti-bullying policies of the school, as well as the mechanisms of such school, for the anonymous reporting of acts of bullying or retaliation. G. Educate parents and guardians about the dynamics of bullying, the anti-bullying policies of the school, and how parents and guardians can provide support and reinforce such policies at home. And H. Maintain a public record of relevant information and statistics on acts of bullying or retaliation in school, provided that the names of students who committed acts of bullying or retaliation shall be strictly confidential and only made available to the school administration, teachers directly responsible for the said students, and parents or guardians of students who are or have been victims of acts of bullying or retaliation. All elementary and secondary schools shall provide students and their parents or guardians a copy of the anti-bullying policies being adopted by the school. Such policies shall likewise be included in the school's student and/or employee handbook, and shall be conspicuously posted on the school walls and website, if there is any. The Department of Education, DEPT, shall include in its training programs courses or activities which shall provide opportunities for school administrators, teachers and other employees to develop their knowledge and skills in preventing or responding to any bullying act. Section 4. Mechanisms to address bullying. The school principal or any person who holds a comparable role shall be responsible for the implementation and oversight of policies intended to address bullying. Any member of the school administration, student, parent or volunteer shall immediately report any instance of bullying or act of retaliation witnessed, or that has come to one's attention, to the school principal or school officer, or person so designated by the principal, to handle such issues, or both. Upon receipt of such a report, the school principal or the designated school officer or person shall promptly investigate. If it is determined that bullying or retaliation has occurred, the school principal or the designated school officer or person shall notify the law enforcement agency. If the school principal or designee believes that criminal charges under the revised penal code may be pursued against the perpetrator. B. Take appropriate disciplinary administrative action. C. Notify the parents or guardians of the perpetrator. And D. Notify the parents or guardians of the victim regarding the action taken to prevent any further acts of bullying or retaliation. If an incident of bullying or retaliation involves students from more than one school, the school first informed of the bullying or retaliation shall promptly notify the appropriate administrator of the other school, so that both may take appropriate action. Section 5. Reporting requirement. All schools shall inform their respective schools' division superintendents in writing about the anti-bullying policies formulated within 6 months from the effectivity of this Act. Such notification shall likewise be an administrative requirement prior to the operation of new schools, beginning with the school year after the effectivity of this Act, and every first week of the start of the school year thereafter. Schools shall submit a report to their respective schools' division superintendents all relevant information and statistics on acts of bullying or retaliation. The school's division superintendents shall compile these data and report the same to the Secretary of the DepEd, who shall likewise formally transmit a comprehensive report to the Committee on Basic Education of both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Section 6. Sanction for noncompliance. In the rules and regulations to be implemented pursuant to this Act, the Secretary of the DepEd shall prescribe the appropriate administrative sanctions on school administrators who shall fail to comply with the requirements under this Act. In addition thereto, erring private schools shall likewise suffer the penalty of suspension of their permits to operate. Section 7. Implementing rules and regulations. Within 90 days from the effectivity of this Act, the DepEd shall promulgate the necessary rules and regulations to implement the provisions of this Act. Section 8. Separability clause. If, for any reason, any provision of this Act is declared to be unconstitutional or invalid, the other sections or provisions hereof which are not affected thereby shall continue to be in full force or effect. Section 9. Repealing clause. All laws, decrees, orders, rules and regulations or parts thereof, which are inconsistent with or contrary to the provisions of this Act, are hereby repealed, amended or modified accordingly. Section 10. Effectivity. This Act shall take effect 15 days after its publication in at least 2 national newspapers of general circulation.
Babala. Maaring mabuli ang iyong mga anak sa pamamagitan ng email, social media, internet, at pakikipag-usap sa cellphone. Kaya dapat kayo mang mag-ingat, pag-aralan ang batas. Sa susunod na paksa, Lesson 3, ating sasagutin ang katanungan na, ano ang sekreto ng online learning upang mabilis matuto?
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.